Good evening, and thank you for joining me. I have a lot of information to go over this evening, so I'm just going to get straight to it. On August 3rd, we celebrated a full moon in the zodiac sign of Leo. This was not an ordinary full moon, however, and I want to talk about it. You see, every year we get 12 new moons total, one for every astrological sign in the zodiac chart. Only this year, because 2020, we've received 13 new moons, an occurrence that occurs and yet not all that often. And what makes this extra new moon so special is when we consider where it landed. It landed in the zodiac sign of Cancer. This is interesting for several reasons. The first one being where Cancer is located in the astrological chart. It is in a direct opposition to the zodiac sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by the planet of Saturn. Saturn being the planet of karma, solitude, and restriction. Why is Capricorn so important to this equation? Earlier this year, when COVID-19 broke out and the pandemic spread and the whole planet shut itself down, we had a conjunction occur within the zodiac sign of Capricorn between the planets of Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. Let's look at this a little bit more in depth using the lens of the tarot. First off, we have Saturn. Karma, solitude, restriction, rules Capricorn. Capricorn shows up as number 15 in the major arcana of the tarot, the devil. This card is usually illustrated with a big, scary devil and a man and a woman who are chained to it, or so they think. Upon further inspection of the card, is what you realize is they're actually not chained to it at all, and if they wanted to leave, they could leave at any time, thus rendering the devil powerless, because the devil doesn't really have any power other than what you give it. However, they either A, don't know that, or B, they don't want to leave. So they choose to stay and thus feed their energy into it, becoming more and more like it. This is a very grounding card. It represents straight up earth energy and is noted in the Hermetic Tarot as being the Lord of the gates of matter. It is a card you would get if you were suffering some form of drug addiction, a toxic relation, or any unhealthy obsession that you weren't willing to look at. It would be a card you would draw that would be a wink and a nudge saying, hey, I'm your shadow self and you need to address this. So come back down to earth. The devil. Then we have the planet of Jupiter. Jupiter being the planet of expansion, rules the zodiac sign of Sagittarius. Now Sagittarius shows up as number 14 in the major arcana of the tarot, the card of Temperance. This card is illustrated by an angel with both the masculine and feminine properties, with one foot on land and the other foot in the water. Now the land represents the third dimension and the water representing the fifth dimension. The angel is holding two cups, one yin, one yang, and is balancing these two energies. It is a card calling to remind us that the total is always greater than the sum of its parts, and therefore is calling for a need of balance. Temperance. Then we have the planet of Pluto. Pluto being the planet of revelation. Rules the zodiac sign of Scorpio. Scorpio shows up as number 13 in the major arcana of the tarot, the card of Death. This card is usually illustrated by the angel of death riding in on a horse. It's actually one of the most positive cards you could ever get, because what it symbolizes is that we are at the end of one cycle and starting a new one. A phoenix rising from the ashes. And at times, to state the obvious, it also means literal death. So you have 13, 14, and 15 of the major arcana all in a row, all landing in the zodiac sign of Capricorn, an occurrence that has not happened since the Crusades took place here on Earth. But the time that I want to look at is the time they all came into a conjunction before that event, which takes us back some 3,000 to 4,000 years ago from today. What was occurring on Earth during that conjunction? A quiet little tiny beach community was beginning to form, and they decided to give it the name Babylon. Babylon being responsible for many of the laws and societal structures we are currently living under today. Why is this so important? Well, we must consider what else has been going on in the sky while this conjunction took place. In 2019, we had the planet of Uranus moving into the zodiac sign of Taurus, and it will be there until the year 2026. Why is this so important? Uranus, despite the name everyone makes fun of, is actually like the coolest fucking planet ever created. It is the planet of androgyny, the planet of fuck authority, and the planet of innovation. Fuck what you know. Shit you've never even thought of is how we roll here on Uranus. And it rules the zodiac sign of Aquarius. Aquarius shows up as number 17 in the major arcana of the tarot, the star, which is illustrated by a woman who is naked pouring out a giant vat of water. Now, the woman's nudity represents her vulnerability as she has gone inward and faced her vulnerability, the water representing a washing away of her ego, and thus she emerges naked and powerful and steps barefoot into the new earth. The new earth having far more connection to the rest of the universe and the cosmos than anything that NASA or the Matrix could ever sell us. This is indicated by the giant star that is drawn above her head, surrounded by 7 little stars, each one of those representing one of the chakra points in the human chakra system. So you get this planet of fuck authority moving into the zodiac sign of Taurus. Now, Taurus shows up as number 5 in the major arcana of the tarot, the Hierophant, the card of societal structure, government, organized religion, the way we've always done things ever since Babylon. So you have Capricorn and company coming in saying, okay, we're putting a halt on this, time to ground all this. Then you get Uranus swooping in saying, okay, fuck all this bullshit, we're doing things a new and different way, which brings us back over here to Cancer. Because despite what I said earlier about the signs being in opposition to each other, that doesn't actually exist. They're actually all working together for humanity's benefit at all times. So Capricorn gives the go-ahead, Uranus moves in, giving its energy over to Cancer. Now Cancer is the mom of the zodiac, and she's ruled by the moon. The moon is the representation of the feminine energy in astrology, and this year we get 2 moons in this zodiac sign. Cancer shows up as number 7 in the major arcana of the tarot, the Chariot, which is represented by a person on a chariot with 1 horse yin, 1 horse yang, bringing these 2 energies together and saying, okay, here's where we're going. And then this extra new moon gets exalted in the zodiac sign of Leo. Leo shows up in the major arcana of the tarot as number 8, the card of strength. 8 being the number of infinity. The lower loop representing the 3D, the upper loop representing the 5D. Now, this card is illustrated by a woman who has a lion resting on her lap while it eats out of her hand. The lion is docile because she has tamed it. The lion represents the shadow aspect of humanity, our shadow self, our animalistic parts that we would really rather not look at. Now this woman has managed to tame that area of herself, thus transmuting this energy into light. And therefore, she has ascended out of the delusion of duality and therefore death, as the Matrix is truly the valley of the shadow of death, death being nothing more than that, a shadow. And she has ascended into the reality of magnetism and polarity, the light feeding into the dark and the dark feeding into the light, because energy could never be destroyed. It can only be transmuted. And therefore, she is immortal. This is indicated by the infinity symbol that is drawn above her head. So you get this divine feminine energy getting exalted in the zodiac sign of Leo. This moon crescendos, lands on another new moon in Leo, throwing more gasoline on that fire, which then gets exalted just a few nights ago in the Piscean moon in the zodiac sign of Virgo. Virgo being number 9 in the tarot, the card of the hermit, the card of the person who goes inward, examines themselves, and then emerges back into society with the light to shine on the rest of the world. The light worker. Virgo is ruled by the planet of Mercury, Mercury being the planet of communication. And therefore, I believe that now is the time that we begin discussing in a very real, tangible, and practical way the implementation of the divine feminine into the mass consciousness of society as the planet moves forward into the age of Aquarius. So, if you found this to be interesting, or at least entertaining, I invite you to share it and join me again tomorrow night for part 2 of my 3-part series entitled The Divine Feminine. We will be looking at what exactly the Divine Feminine energy is, and we will be looking at the possibilities this could hold for humanity on a whole. Until then, I hope you had a wonderful summer. I know that I certainly did. From my heart to yours, take care, stay well. Namaste.